We are not.
You got to plug in.
Live, wait for 1 minute in case people. Join us. Welcome everybody to UTRCA. Call the meeting to order at 9:30. As a reminder, Emily Chandler is serving as our meeting host. So if those of you online, and I believe we have Jean and Scotty joining us online today, welcome. Have any connection problems or issues with technology, please contact Emily through the chat feature. Today's meeting is being live streamed on the UTRCA YouTube channel. For all board members, staff, and guests, please refrain from whispering or side conversation while the meeting is running. They are distracting to those sitting around you and could get picked up by the microphones. When the squares glow red, the microphones are muted. They are green, so they are on. Please make sure your phones and devices are either off or silenced. If you are a board member attending online, please have your camera on during the meeting, especially during voting and closed session when applicable. We do have regrets from Peter, and I believe Harj and Tom are not with us either. With that, I will read the territorial acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the Upper Thames River watershed is within the traditional territory of the Attawadden, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Nunavut peoples who have deep, long-standing and intrinsic relationships to the land, water, plants, and animals of southwestern Ontario. We acknowledge the First Nations communities within the Thames River watershed who are connected to and by the Thames River. These nations include Chippewa, the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nations, and Thames, Munsee, Delaware Nation, and Delaware Nation at Meridian. In the region, there are 11 First Nation communities and a growing and diverse Indigenous urban population. We acknowledge and respect local and regional First Nations as original, contemporary, and future caretakers of this watershed, and we are committed to working alongside Indigenous peoples from across the region of Turtle Island in relationships, honor treaty rights, and improve watershed health. So with that, we will move on to the modifications of the agenda, which we do have. And so just to receive some correspondence that came in late. So I'll ask for a mover and seconder that the June 23rd, 2026 UTRCA Board Directors Agenda be modified to include correspondence from the CEO of the Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency as part of item 6.2. Mark and Hugh, discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And then we have agenda. Is there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. We do not have any delegations or presentations, so we'll move on to approval of the previous minutes from the previous meeting of May 26th, 2026. And I will ask if there's a mover and a seconder to receive those minutes, including any closed session. George and Anna, discussion. Just to make sure both members were present at the last meeting. Okay. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. There are no business arising for the minutes. Correspondence, we've included that in item 6.2 as it relates directly to that. And so we will go to item 6.1, which is the Digman Creek Flood Hazard Map Update, City of London. There is a presentation, so we'll welcome staff up to give that presentation, please. Right, just before you start, I should have started this at the beginning, is that as many know, Tracy is at a general managers meeting at Conservation Ontario. Unfortunately, they scheduled the same day. But we have Brent here.
Yay.
You guys, no pressure to do a perfect job with it. Thanks, Brent. Welcome.
All right, good morning, everyone. So we are giving this presentation this morning jointly with City of London staff. So I have Adrienne Soames here. She's with Stormwater Engineering with the city, and Stephanie Schreiner, who's our water resources engineer, will be giving part of the presentation as well. So we're going to start with
Morning, everyone. Thanks for having us here today. So with that, I'll get into the presentation that we've prepared.
Can everybody hear?
All right, so the agenda we'll get through today is from.
Or do we have a microphone?
So microphone's right there. I need to.
Okay, now everybody. Thank you. Welcome.
So thank you, everyone. Today we're going to get through this agenda where we'll talk about the background of how we got this flood hazard mapping update through the Dignity Creek environmental assessment process. And we'll also highlight the public engagement and information component to this project that's led us to the report today with the flood hazard update. And then I'll pass it over to Stephanie and she'll walk you through the flood hazard mapping approach, talk about the updated flood hazard limit, what it looks like, and then we'll talk about some next steps. So some of you may be aware that the City of London initiated the Dignity Creek Watershed Environmental Assessment back in 2015. And that at the time, the purpose of this environmental assessment was to do a flood hazard update. Also look at the focus was on the municipal infrastructure to mitigate stormwater management within an area of London where we knew development was going to be focused within the next 20 years. And part of that component was also looking at including a low impact development, a stormwater management strategy. And one of the large outcomes of this project was our complete corridor approach. So we have 4 complete corridors that were identified through this project where we integrate stormwater management infrastructure along with the natural heritage system through like a natural significant corridor. And then we also provide recreational opportunities for the public through these systems. So the stage 1 EA for Digman was completed in 2020. It was really the precursor to the study that got us here today. And this study really focused on the lands that were outside the UTRCA screening area related to the flood hazard limit. So that project was completed in 2020. And then in 2021 was when we initiated the stage 2 EA. With the main focus of the stage 2 EA is really looking at that flood hazard modeling and getting it updated. So we used the most current technology to do that, recognizing that by 2021, we had new information from the provincial government through the LiDAR mapping that they'd done. And we also had advances in the way that we model our watersheds through 1D and 2D modeling to further advance the technological background that informs that flood hazard limit. So the purpose of this EA study, it really builds on the stage 1 EA with the same guiding principles, but that the focus is on identifying those flood hazard limits and future municipal infrastructure to alleviate that flood hazard potential. So it could be through culvert upgrades or improved channel conveyance to sort of contain the water within those complete corridors and natural heritage systems and reduce flooding impacts to existing properties and future development areas. So where we are in the stage 2 EA, as I noted before, it was initiated in 2021. We've had a series of public engagement meetings alongside the project, starting with the kicking off in 2021. And then we've had 3 sort of public engagement opportunities where we've had various meetings with both public and with the consulting industry and developers. So currently we have a mapping for the existing conditions of where we are now, and that's the mapping that's coming forth today. As part of the EA process, we'll continue to complete the mitigation modeling strategy now that we have existing conditions through the fall. And then we are working towards completing the EA in January 2027. Okay, there we go. I think we jumped one. Maybe that was me. Okay, so in terms of the public consultation, what we've done to date, as I noted, the project initiation was, those notices went out in September 2021. Our initial public information center was once we had sort of progressed the mapping to a point where we were ready to present it to the public and what the mitigation strategies would look like. Were completed in 2003, late 2003, where we had meetings, special meetings for each different interest party group. So we had some for the public, and then we had specific meetings to address concerns of consultants and developers. And we carry that sort of approach forward in the next public centers, information centers, where we had a meeting then in 2024 and 2026, bringing people up to date and what we've done and the progress that we made to date. And that brings us to where we are today we'll have one final public information center planned for this fall once we have the final mitigation strategy prior to posting the completion of the EA document. So in the last year, we've had, I guess, really, we just wanted to highlight the coordination that's gone into developing this flood hazard mapping. There's been a lot of different individuals involved in the project along the way. Aquifer Beach was the consultant who led the stage 1 EA and did some of the initial modeling. KGS is the consultant who has led the stage 2 EA. And you know, with this modeling, there's both the hydrologic model that determines the flows, and then the hydraulic model, which models how those flows move through the system. So we've had a lot of technical expertise on both of those sides, as well as we've had advisory reviewers as part of both the stage 1 and the stage 2 EA through AECOM and water analytics. So lots of professionals within the stormwater management and water resources industry who have done a lot of extensive modeling across the province. And in the past year, we've had regular meetings between city and UTRCA staff to really work through some of these technical issues with the modeling and making sure we can get on the same page so that both the Conservation Authority and the city can move forward with one flood line to meet both our regulatory objectives. And then overall, the city, what we've done through the project, because the line work was created through the city's EA, we then provided that line work to the UTRCA, and they did the post-processing work on that to establish them the regulatory flood hazard limit, meeting their requirements. And with that, I'll pass it to Stephanie.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna briefly go over flood hazard approach, which Adrian did cover part of it already, but so just as Adrian mentions, we're very collaborative between the City of London and UTRCA, and also mentioned that there's been many eyes on this project, many people looking at it and involved in the modeling over many years. So this ensures that the approach is technically sound and follows appropriate guidelines. So without getting into the nitty gritty, just want to highlight a few key principles that guided this work. So the flood hazard mapping followed provincial guidelines, the M&R Tech Guide, and the provincial planning statement. And this ensures consistency with how flood hazards are mapped in Ontario. And we are aware that there's the new draft out for the M&R flood tech guidelines. And we don't anticipate any major changes to data, but obviously with we'll be looking at that in the future. So the Dingman project uses a best available information and technology, including updated elevation mapping and improved model tools. It aims to capture the full picture of flooding, which is important in Dingman as watershed's pretty complex with many tributaries coming in and some relatively flat areas in the middle of the watershed. Okay, so, and again, Adrian covered a little bit of this, but just a brief overview of the modeling. So there's been a lot of effort put into the modeling, the hydrology and hydraulics. So the hydrology modeling, first off, it estimates how much water, the flow, is generated during a major storm event. In this case, the 250 year. And this includes some assumptions for future development. And then the second part, the hydraulic modeling, which takes that amount of water and determines where it goes in the water courses and floodplains. And so KGS, the consultant working on this, used a combination of approaches, including 1D and 2D modeling to better represent how the water goes through this, as I mentioned, complex system. For both the hydrology and hydraulics, the UTRCA models were used as base, and then they were refined and improved by KGS. And so the final product you see reflects the KGS model outputs, which were reviewed and verified by the city, UTRCA, and other consultants, and then post-processed by our GIS staff, so smoothing the line and checking for islands and buildings, etc. And this is the draft mapping for Dingman, showing the flood hazard for the 250-year event. And I'll pass it off to Jenna.
Okay, so this is a slightly smaller map, but you can see our current regulated area is the light pink shading, sort of underneath the blue and dark red lines. And so it's currently labeled as a study area under review. And if approved by the board today, we'll be removing that light pink layer and replacing it with the dark line showing the updated flood hazard. And it will form our new regulated area. And I should note that this update is specifically for the flood hazard. So we haven't done any other modifications to the regulated area for any updates to other features. So no wetland updates or erosion hazard updates at this time. It's simply reflecting the updated flood hazard. Not to say that those features aren't still contained within the regulated area. They just haven't been updated the way the flood hazard has. In terms of next steps, we'll be, if approved by the board today, we'll be posting this on both our internal GIS sites as well as our public mapping, and we'll be providing those layers as well to the City of London for their use as well. We'll be continuing to collaborate with the city as they move through the mitigation plans for Digman. So as those mitigation projects are completed, we anticipate that future updates to the flood hazard will kind of continue, and we'll be bringing those back forward for approval as those mitigation projects are completed. Stephanie mentioned the technical guide that's used as the provincial guidance piece that informs floodplain modeling and mapping. And it was stated in the report that the province announced on June 12th that they have updated that guidance document, which is something we have been looking for a long time. So those are currently posted in the ERO and they close on August 11th. I don't think we anticipate any major changes to what the work that's been completed in Digman as a result of those updated guidelines. But we will obviously be giving them consideration as we move forward with future updates once that tech guide update is approved. And as we move forward with future updates, we're also looking to update the other features too. So we'll be looking at updating the erosion hazard in particular, and any changes to wetlands or other water courses that are unmodeled this time. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Question from the board on the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Trying to get my head around the stage 4 piece of it. So if I understand it, at this point, we're only being asked to approve the flood hazard map update. The mitigation strategies in stage 4 aren't relevant to this action. Is that correct? I see heads nodding.
Yeah, correct. So the existing update is reflecting current conditions. So that's what we have to regulate to is existing conditions. So that's what this mapping update reflects. And as mitigation projects are completed, that's when those updates would come forward for future consideration on the board.
Okay. The other question I had was, pre and post, how much hectarage is changing from being flood hazard to not flood hazard? Because if I understand the process, how it started, or the size of this screening area was roughly 300 hectares, right? And now there's a smaller amount. Where I'm going with this was 300 hectares excluded from the city's process of figuring out available development. Waiting for this process. So somewhere along the line, there's going to be a change in that number. Has that been roughly estimated at this point?
I just highlight that the screening area was not intended to be a flood hazard area, so it's sort of hard to compare. I
Okay,
didn't compare the screening area to what's here because they're based on different assumptions, so you
Okay.
can't say comparing apples to oranges. So
all right.
so I do not have that number for you. So the screening area was sort of like just the worst case scenario
Yeah.
at the time. just wanted to know what the worst case was.
So let me, oh, sorry, Adrian.
Yeah, I can just add to that from the municipality's perspective. So you're right. When we were doing the land needs assessment study, at that time, we only had the screening area to go off of. And so those lands were discounted from the overall calculation. And I believe, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I want to say it was around 200 hectares. And that's now not been considered as part of the UTP expansion. It's been was discounted because those were seen as non-developable areas.
Now, how many are considered developable? Is there a figure?
Because I think it was around that 200, the difference between the screening area and then the new existing conditions flood hazard update.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Tyler,
Thank you. I think maybe my question is unclear, but on slide 12, I was just wondering if we had net new regulated area or net loss regulated area compared to the previous regulated area.
Net loss.
Net loss. So we tightened it up.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, because you can see some of the pink where you said is going to fall. It looks like it's been brought in.
Yeah, it's hard to see the pink shading, but yeah, it's the screening area that existed or that currently exists is larger than what we're having you consider for approval today.
And then one follow-up through the chair. What has been the public consultant developer reaction so far for the process generally? If they've had positive, negative, like.
So
just, we've had delegations in the past and we have not heard anything negative from the development community from the board standpoint, but I will put it to them.
Yeah, I mean, if I can just speak to all we did was a 30-day notification period, and we've heard very little during that 30 days. So I think we posted on May 22nd, the updated mapping. And we really, I think we only heard from one property owner who we had a meeting with, and it was a good discussion. But otherwise, we have not received any formal comments beyond that request for a meeting. But having said that, we relied a lot on the city's public process through the EA and the consultation that they've done. So I don't know if you want to say anything to the feedback that you received.
yeah, I would just say that like through city processes, the development committee was notified that this would be going forward to UTRCA's board. And so just to sort of add to the discussion that there hasn't been a delegation, but they were aware of this going forward today.
Further to that, though, to the chair, it's given to understand that staff, both from the city and the applicants, have actually gone to a meeting of the London Development Institute, providing them an update with that. So the action, as I understand it, has been really extensive consultation with people in the industry. And as the chair said, there were issues. I'm sure their general manager slash whatever you want to call Mr. Wallace, he would have been here. So I think we should be fairly confident that there's comfort on the part of the landowners and that we should move it past this recommendation today.
Any other questions of the presentation? I want to thank everybody involved. Today we're gonna consider, probably in a very anticlimactic way, all the work and the collaboration that went into this. And you can see the extent of the effects upon Digman Creek on that map. There's still a large area that is affected, but all the technicalities that went into it, the hours and hours of collaboration. I can't thank people enough for that because we wouldn't be here without that. And so I want to encourage that certainly going forward, whether it's this board or not, those relationships are important. And we also see the importance of through the questions about how the reduction from the screening area, how it's important to have that great technical accurate information to be able to move forward. Certainly not wanting to stop development, but certainly want to stop development in an unsafe location. So appreciate all the work that's done into that. And thank you very much. And again, I think it's a testament to the amount of consultation and public engagement that, this is going to affect a lot of landowners, but nobody's here today because they've already got the answers that they need. So appreciate that on behalf of the board as well. Well done. So thank you. So with that, we will go for consideration of the report. Is there any questions from the board directly related to the report that weren't answered during the presentation? Is there anything else that like to highlight from this? Not a mover and a recommendation then for the recommendation, which is that the board of directors approve the Digman Creek flood hazard map update City of London. Andy? Seconded by Anna. Discussion? I just want to further, like, this has been something that's been on the board since maybe before even he was here. So it's a great thing to see that this has finally come to an area where the board can approve something and get some certainty for everybody involved and move forward, which is a great thing. So further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, that takes us to item 6.2, which is the request for clarification from the minister. There was direction provided by the minister, and I will turn it over to Brent and he can speak to the report maybe.
Yes, thank you, Chair. As a result of the minister's direction that was issued on May 1st, which requires UTRCA CEO approval for any lease or license to go beyond the extent of a 2-year agreement, staff submitted a written request to UTRCA seeking permission to continue UTRCA's longstanding practice of engaging a tender process that resulted in 5 years of ag land leases. And so on June 22nd, yesterday, UTRCA received a response from UTRCA CEO providing conditional approval to proceed with those 5-year lease agreements, subject to the board approval and direction. So you already got it up. Thank you. And so this is the letter that we received yesterday, directed to Tracy. And so staff are therefore seeking board endorsement to continue its practice of a 5-year ag lease tender to help offset the cost of mandatory land management services while also providing tenant farmers with the certainty needed for crop planning, best management practices, and longer-term operational investments. Questions?
Sandy.
Based on the letter, do we need to make any change to the recommendation?
There is an extra amendment on there, which I'll include in the motion being asked for board to consider. Certainly, yeah, it's good news that.
Oh, yeah.
And conversation with Tracy, certainly it has been a good thing where UTRCA has tried to get these answers quickly, and they're trying to create a situation where they can do that. They certainly don't want to hold things up, but be in compliance with that minister's directions. Any further questions of the report? Done. So I will ask that the board of directors support staff seeking required authorization from Chief Executive Officer, CEO of the Ontario Provincial Conservation Area Agency, UTRCA, in accordance with the minister's direction to proceed with the proposed agricultural land lease, and for the staff be authorized to take all necessary actions to implement the approved tender process, and that the board receives the correspondence dated June 22nd for information, and that the correspondence be appended to the minutes of this meeting. Sandy and Jean, discussion. Mark.
I guess maybe just looking for clarification from Brent or whoever can offer. Just wanted to make sure that if we sign a 5-year lease for agricultural purposes for any of these lands, would the UTRCA as it exists now be able to sell any of these farm lands to anyone or market them for sale at all? And I know that's kind of maybe a closed session item, but
I'll just say that certainly the board can always consider items, and with any lease item, there is clauses in there with if for early cancellation, what would happen in that situation.
That's good.
Further questions? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. It takes us down to 6.3, the Western Lake Erie Regional Conservation Authority guiding principles. Let's get a shorter name for this. I know Weiler just doesn't sound good. This is not UTRCA. So, I will, turn it over to Brent, and you any highlights?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, on behalf of Tracy, these are intended to be the guiding principles that the GMs of the CAs within the Western Lake Erie Region CA will be operating within and already have been operating within. While the province may have its own directions, it is felt that communicating our principles early will benefit staff, our municipalities, and our partners in demonstrating that we are working together as we navigate the transition process. The CAs in the Eastern Lake Erie Region CA are also doing the same, and it was felt that consistency was appropriate as we share communications and messaging.
Excellent. Questions of the report? None. All I would ask is, and I think that Tracy's already expressed this, is that this again be sent out to our member municipalities with a little bit of explanation as to why it's important. But I think in my delegations going around, that was one of my messages, is just that same great work is going to keep happening, and this is kind of reassurance of we want to make sure that and certainly those other CAs that are be joining want to keep that happen as well. So we do know that the province can change things, but I think it's good to have our own direction as we go forward to try to set that. Sorry, I guess we'll get a mover and seconder that the report of Western Lake Erie for the recommendations that are there. Mark, seconder. You. Discussion. Mark.
Just wanted to add as a comment that in Woodstock, the city council met last Thursday, and we had this exact same update on our council agenda to sort of not only update people of Woodstock, but certainly council in general as to where this was standing so far with the Western Lake Regional Conservation Authority.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, so we'll now go into number 7, which is reports in camera. So I'll look for a mover and a seconder for the recommendation contained there, which is that the board of directors adjourn to closed session in camera in accordance with section C-12 of the UTRCA administrative bylaw to discuss a position, plan, or instruction to be applied to negotiations and litigation effects. Dean and Skylar. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. And we will just wait for everything to switch over. You like a big not call staff back to big quack. Just be careful, side conversations, the microphones are on.
Come back to the board. We're back.
I couldn't hear, but that isn't. Okay.
Michelle's not.
Oh, well, we gotta wait for Michelle. Yeah. Have a meeting without notes. board to rise from closed session, and I will look for a mover to seconder that the board of directors receive report for information, item 7.1, and further that the board endorse and continue advancement of a targeted legislative amendment to the Residential Tenancy Act in collaboration with the municipality of Thames Center and Fanshawe Land Lease Association. We were saying that Paul and Jean. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, that is carried. And last for moving a seconder for item 7.2, the board received a verbal update from staff regarding a legal case pertaining to property Essex Ave as information. Anna and George, discussion. All in favor? Opposed, that's carried. Thank you. No, we're with reports for information. 8.1, UTRCA lands contributing to Canada's 30 by 30 target there. Is there a mover and a seconder for that? Hugh and Harsh, thank you. Any questions or discussion on that? Sandy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry for not asking this question of staff earlier. But it's such a small part of the watershed. It's really sad to see. But my main question was, I've been given to understand that London's environmentally significant areas have been contributed to this 30 by 30 target. We own some lands within those. Are those, I didn't see them on the map. Are they just simply because they've been included by the city's contribution, they don't appear on the map that's on the agenda?
Yes, through the chair, I'll defer that question to Brendan.
Yeah, through the chair, you're correct, the city's 12 ESAs that we manage are included, along with Ellis Gas House Swamp. They were put through the program in 2021, I believe. And the reason why they're not located on the map, or at least the ESAs, is just, they're so small on that watershed scale map. You probably wouldn't see them on the map. Downey Tract, for example, over near Interkip, you can barely see it on that map, and it's quite a fair bit bigger than most of the ESA owned or authority owned portions of the ESA.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That explains it.
Any further questions or discussion? All in favor? Opposed, that is carried. Takes us down to 8.2, which is the Upper Thames phosphorus reduction program. There is a note, there was an error on table 2. And Emily, if you could put up the corrected version on the screen for us, it is, thank you. And certainly there's a great report highlighting the projects, and Tatiana can answer any questions of that report. Over to Brett for any further. Or Tatiana, anything you want to highlight?
No, just apologies for the error on the table.
Nope, not a problem. It would look a lot worse if I did it. Is there, so I'll ask for a mover and a second to receive the report with the corrections to table 2 for information. Skylar and Mark. And further questions or discussion? No, Paul, please.
No questions, but a comment. Like, this is a really good report. Not only a lot of good news in it, but a lot of good data in it. And I appreciate the breakdown on the data. I especially appreciated the listing of all the different staff that are involved in this and what they do to explain the amount of work that goes into it. And by my count, there was 21 different individuals and 3 groups that all spend at least some of their time working on this major project. And we know it's a big dollar project, but it's also a big work project too. So compliments to staff on that. And I would point out, especially to Hugh, that Zora is the most acres and the most participants.
Because you have all the money.
For good reason.
First, please.
Yes, that's probably a question here, but I just noticed one line in here. It says a key component of the program is the auditing of projects by staff with over 800 field inspections conducted. So I guess my question is how would you determine where these 800 field inspections should be conducted? Is there a method to the madness on that one?
Through the chair, there is a method to the madness. So all of the acres that come in through the program are mapped by staff. So for the different projects, if someone, for example, has 3 different fields, but they've done the same thing, we'd likely just check one of their fields and assume it's copy paste across the fields. But for each individual project, their staff are going out on site and just checking that the fields have implemented and done the project as they have said in their applications.
Other questions or comment? Dean?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, thanks, Tatiana, for the report. Thanks to staff for your high level of involvement and engagement to make this project a success. Yes, the real thanks goes to federal government, water agency for seeing fit to initiate such a program. There's often a public misconception sometimes that this is an Upper Thames program. Upper Thames administers the program on behalf of other agencies, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
But there is a misconception?
Well, when I hear feedback from lower tiers, they think that this is an Upper Thames exclusive program, but that's not necessarily. Upper Thames is hired to administer the program, but it's through other agencies that this program is devised, correct?
Yes, through the chair. So this program, so we're delivering this program on behalf of Canada Water Agency. So Upper Thames applied to deliver this program, as did 5 other conservation authorities and other partners that do like work across our watershed, but the Lake Erie Basin in general.
Yeah, so I guess that the point is that we're doing important work on the behalf of others for the benefit of all of our watershed communities. And I guess to me, the significance on the project uptake, not only just the acres impacted, but the estimated phosphorus reduction of 40,961 pounds or 18,576 kilograms. I guess for me, it's relevant. The relevance for me is that in West Perth, our wastewater treatment plant at Mitchell, it diverts about 11 to 12,000 kilograms of phosphorus per year. So to put that in perspective, like people might say, well, why are we doing this? Well, the effect of this project so far has the equivalent of almost 2 wastewater treatment plants based in Mitchell, just to give it the project some context. So there is value and there's a reason why we're doing it. And I just wanted to elaborate on that further with my comments. Thank you.
And I'll hop on those comments because I think that, it shows the collaboration and it shows the buy-in that our staff have and the relationships that they have to bring this on. I think if the parent agency had tried to do this themselves, it would not be successful because of the local relationships and the importance of those local relationships that our staff have built with people over the years to bring them on this program. So kudos for that and the importance of that continuing. I think I will note that this program will continue on as is after, that's the plan after the switchover is over in February, as it's supposed to go to 2028. And so the direction from the province at this point has been everything that happened before will happen again, just under the new name. And so I think that's an important thing as other CAs within that new regional structure also are contracted under this. That local connection is so important to having success in these programs. And we know our staff, regardless of what it says on their paycheck, will continue to do that and do an amazing job to make sure that we do have those uptakes and benefits to our residents within this watershed as the larger one. Sandy?
Yeah, thank you for raising that, Mr. Chair, because it makes me think of another question. Through you to Tatiana, has there been any discussion yet with your colleagues in the other CAs that are coming together into one regional CA? Those that have this program, how it's going to be administered and continued? And has the federal government been involved or made aware of these changes that are going to affect perhaps the funding of and the delivery of the programs? And it's still some time away, but it's only 8 months away. So any conversations happen?
To the chair. So the collective CAs that have the funding through this program we've been talking since day one on the delivery of our individual programs and where we can find synergies where possible. So those conversations will continue, but without like a concrete change in the program, we expect that we can continue to deliver our individual programs as we had proposed to the federal government. And just in terms of conversations with Canada Water Agency, it seems their concern is more in our ability to continue to deliver our program than it is like what that means in terms of amalgamation and future. But it is set to be a 10-year program. So I think really the questions will be after that 2028, the ending of our current agreements, what that looks like moving forward as the 4 conservation authorities.
Thank you, Mr. Glad it's being looked at.
And I would say that given if it was just one entity of those that were being amalgamated providing the program, that might be a bigger, but we do know that each of the amalgamated watersheds have identified as federal priorities. So them each individual, like I can't see that being, it's probably a great importance to every other board right now and that joint board as well to continue those programs forward.
Yeah, question also through to Tatiana. I know Paul Mitchell had mentioned the number of people that are staff that have been involved in this program in general, but one thing I highlighted on the report was the fact that the educational part of the UTRCA, or the educational team, I don't know, Carly's here hiding in the back, but the fact that elementary and high school students were involved too. So it became an educational thing about learning about nature. Any kind of a comment you can make about that, about the positive angle there?
Yeah, I can pass it over to Carly if you want. But I will just say, so one of the goals of the program is the sustained and long-term adoption of best management practices. And one of the best ways to do that is kind of getting the message out to those next generation farmers. So I think that's where the education program really ties in nicely to not only what we're doing on the ground now through the cost share programming, but what we're doing long-term messaging in terms of kind of reaching all generations where we can.
Yeah, through the chair. We were really excited about the opportunity to integrate the messages into several of our existing programs, like our Stream of Dreams in rural communities. But we also had our team created a whole new program specifically for high school students, where they are kind of taking ownership of their own property and learning about the best management practices and implementing them, what works best on their farm. So we were excited to, create something new, as well as integrate the messages into what we already have existing.
So, anything else? Just one thing I just want to highlight too is, there's that osmosis effect of, even though there's not people maybe participating in the program, when they see the benefits that their neighbors are, if they, over time, the more that's adopted, and you get a larger change. And it's hard to quantify maybe some of everything, but certainly very well done. And it's great to see that people are using those funds are available to make their practices better and be benefited. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Next, we're going to go to 8.3, which is the wetland subject approval update. And I will ask for a mover and a seconder to receive that as information. You and Jim. And just before I ask for discussion or questions, I'm going to steal the floor because I can. Because I want to give a huge shout out. This is great news. We took 20% of the total funding in this watershed. I think that's something to be very proud of, and spread to our member municipalities the value that our staff are bringing to the table with this. that's $1 million that's not coming out of our local residents. And so, when there's only $5 million available, there was a lot of projects that were asked for. It shows the level of skill and the quality of the submissions that are needed. And I know we have some higher, obviously we have high risk structures and stuff like that go up above that, but it is great to see the level of success. And that certainly is not by accident. So I got to commend staff for that, because that's a great news story, again, to share with all our member municipalities that this is the level of service that UTRCA provides to be able to offset some of those costs that would be directly attributed to their tax, their ratepayers. So very much appreciated. Further comments and questions of the report? Go to Dean and then Paul.
Yep, through you, Mr. Chair, to follow up on your comments on the success of the results. I would suggest it would be appropriate that each of the benefiting municipalities in the watershed should be copied on this report, so that they're duly informed of the success of the application process, and they're informed that, as you said, Mr. Chair, that the monies being spent will not be coming out of their levies in the near future. It will be covered by the province. So I think it's important to communicate the success that the staff have had with submitting the applications on the behalf of the member municipalities, and communicate the financial success, the financial relief that those same municipalities will be experiencing as a result. Thank you.
100% agree on that.
And through you, a question to Chris, and that has to do, unfortunately, one of the applications that didn't get funding was the Embro Conservation Authority or area dam removal studies and design. So by not getting that funding, does that potentially delay that project another year, or are there other options?
Did we hear they got a lot of money?
Not that much money. Don't believe what you said. That's hearsay. Sorry, Chris.
So, through the chair, if I may respond to that. We are reaching out to all the municipalities. I appreciate the comments from the members about the success, but it's always challenging to deal with the unsuccessful ones. That's not new. We have a lot of high risk structures, as the chair had pointed out. We also have some lower risk structures, and like many conservation authorities, structures, they're not always as successful getting it. So it is part of the dialogue with them when we budget, that they're on the hook for the whole project. And if we get the WECI funding, that's a positive thing. But it is a local responsibility. But given the challenges, we'll be reaching out to those municipalities. Hood has already got a number of emails out to open the doors for some dialogue, some input on how we proceed with those. And without speaking directly to the Embro one specifically, in general terms, we're looking at options to proceed with the 50% funding that we have for some of those projects, and then reapply later. Where there is a likelihood that they may get that funding and there's no urgency in proceeding, that may be the wisest choice to do, and we'll have those discussions with the municipalities. Where there's not that much likelihood of getting that funding in the future, and where it's tied to future work, the importance of proceeding with those will be part of the project, will be part of that discussion. Now, speaking directly to the Embro situation, we're working on design basically, and some of the studies leading up to design basically. And so that's setting us up for work that we'll be applying for in the future, more expensive construction work that we'll be applying for in the future. So there is some importance in keeping things moving forward, keeping that momentum going, so that we can be ready to go after funding when it's available. And I'm, in the case of the Embro and the EAs in general, it's a broader pot of money that you may end up going after, because of the environmental improvements that are made by decommissioning those particular projects. So it's important that we keep that moving, but we haven't had those discussions with the municipalities yet. We have just reached out to them to initiate those discussions and get their feedback and their thoughts on proceeding with this. We always have the option of proceeding with the work as planned and then levying in subsequent year for the remainder of the municipal share. It's always an option to defer the work as well, and move forward in a subsequent year. And that may make sense for some projects, but not where there's a need to keep it moving. So I've tried to answer the members' questions as well as sort of the general principle right, apply to this, and work together with the benefiting municipalities.
And I would say is that doing research into funding, it's very hard to get funding for the EAs and that sort of planning. It's after that fact when you know what you're going to do. It seems to be easier. They want to pay for actual capital shovels in the ground. So, but I would also encourage member municipalities to look for any grant opportunities as well. There's other funding, especially with dam removal and stuff like that. We know there's private groups out there that can have funding, and I know that our staff look at that as well. But I can't commend enough the collaboration between, for a multitude of reports here that it really shows what and we know sitting around the board table what UTRC brings to the table for value to our member municipalities. But this agenda highlights a lot of those across the board, across many different departments. So, Mark.
Yeah, I noticed that the Piddock Dam safety boom installation didn't make it for the funding, but for $600,000, that's quite a. What would be the timetable for this project to happen? Is this something still in 2026 or early 2027 based on fiscal year? And I know the grant's for $300,000, but for our $600,000 total cost, without going into specifically what's involved, I can ask you that maybe out of the meeting, but sort of what a timetable might be for a project like this.
So if I may, through the chair, the funding is for the 2026-2027 fiscal year of the province. So that money is only able to be spent up till the end of March 2027. So that means that we need to get that project rolling very, very quickly. It's late when we find out about these things, but the design work has already been done. So this is tendering and installation, purchase and installation. I hope that.
That was exactly. I know the fiscal year makes it awkward to do any work in the springtime outside, that's for sure.
We as was pointed out by one of the members, the Wildwood one was finally installed after the weather got good, and we had some challenges with water level and that sort of thing. So the Wildwood one installed, but we were able to get most of the work paid for prior to the end of that fiscal year.
So, any other questions or discussion? I do appreciate the staff work that's being done to notify the municipalities, but I think maybe the politicians at the councils do need to be aware. So maybe we can work with staff and a letter from the chair with appropriate time to those councils just to notify them of the great work. You know, this board's been very humble in the past, and maybe that's getting that good work out there that the board does and staff, well, really staff does, is really the going forward, so people at least know what's the value prior to the change. So any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, that takes us down to section 28, 8.4. Mover and seconder to receive that as information. Skylar and Hugh. Any discussion or comments? Cindy.
think Mr. Three of the staff just wanted to check my addition here. So we've assigned 90 permit numbers. 62 permits have been issued, leaving 28. 10 of them require more information. That leaves 18. So my assumption is those are simply work in progress, that there's information and staff are just working on whether to issue the permit or not. Would that be fair to say?
All right, through you, Mr. Chair. The 10 are the ones that are stalled because we're waiting for additional information. The 18 are going through the process and we anticipate the permit to be issued on the next board update.
And the other question I had, are you seeing it appears to be less work or less request for permits in regulated areas? Because it's roughly 90 for roughly half of 2026 versus 234 for all of 2025. Is it simply less activity, or they're running out of regulated areas?
So through you, Mr. Chair, I don't know if we've really analyzed the trends yet. This is just for May, so there is another month for half of the year. So this report's up till May. So I think I would say we're roughly going to be at just over 100, on probably similar to last year once we see the June stats. But that's something I haven't necessarily looked into in terms of the trends of what we may be seeing, but I'm happy to look into that and report back if requested.
I think I just was looking for something off the top of your head. So thank you.
Further questions or discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And 8.5 is the project status update. Mover and seconder for that. We'll go with Jim and Anna. Okay, I will turn it, I believe, Brett, you have a.
Yes.
comment here?
Chair, with the ERO posting the technical guide for the riverine flooding hazards, for comments, staff will be assessing the timing of policy updates. And also, given the transition to the Western Lake Erie Region CA, some priorities may be paused and or noted to be on hold. Any changes will be reflected in future reports.
Any comments or questions of that project status update? None, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And Thames River Current June edition. See that as information. Dean and Skylar. And discussion or questions on that. Just some great things. Can we just go back up right to the top? Don't let one first run down. Okay, no, I saw this great thing of Tom Heeman with a really cool drone doing some stuff, and I thought it was in here, but it could be wrong. There's a lot of emails that come through, but pardon me? No, okay, well, we'll make sure we get that transferred over. Maybe that may be something as well, but a lot of great stories in there as always, and mind everybody, it's a great way to share information about what's going on. But yeah, I also, that first one there, it's interesting to note there is a provincial water monitoring system. You can go on and check wells and data. It's, you know, there's you know, see what's going on in Waterloo and stuff. It's always interesting. A lot of us get our water from the ground. Others are, you know, connected to the lake, but great information there as well. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Right, that takes us to reports for committee update, which I don't believe we have any. Then sorry, the hearing committee did follow the May minutes, and we got through that in less than a minute. It was just to receive the minutes from the previous, so good that way. And then notice of motions. Any notice of motions? Being none. Chair comments. So yeah, it's I finished up my delegations going around with West Perth on the last one. There's a couple I didn't hear back from, but all in all, I was super impressed by, again, there's been a lot of knowledge spreading of different municipalities sitting on the different elected officials sitting on the board. So there's good knowledge that way. And certainly it was positive about UTRCA's involvement, a lot of concern about what's happening. Certainly there has been a lot happening, but a lot not happening with the consolidation efforts. Right now, there is interviews going on for the project executive positions. We know that that will be finishing up, and then we'll see the transition committees form. Princeton Young is finishing their work. They're doing interviews. And so with the different CAs. And so there's that period of lull where nothing's kind of happening and it's just backing up, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And so that's my message to you and member municipalities as well, as be ready. We're going to probably see a flood of information and activity happen going forward.
There was something in the news recently that the Speaker of the Legislature made a ruling that during this long break, the committees still get to discuss these appointments, certain appointments. Any idea if that includes these transition commissions?
I'm not sure. There has been, not sure the structure that those committees, the transition committees will take, that hasn't been kind of released yet. So we'll have to wait and see. I think those are more the provincial appointments to different committees that would have to be there. So we'll have to see what the minister's directions. Under this process, the minister does have the ability to make, a lot of direction as far as legislative changes. So there's a lot of leeway. Again, that's part of it, is there hasn't been a lot of new information as they try to just get the structure set up to make it happen. But certainly try to keep everybody up to date, and certainly to the board that'll happen. And Dean and I were at a virtual meeting for Conservation Ontario, as Tracy was as well, and she's there for the GM's meeting today. Not a lot on this issue, to tell you the truth. And I'll be honest, I did bring up that their website needs to be updated. There's not a lot of information on their website about this as well. So see how that works out with Conservation Ontario. But there wasn't anything of note in that meeting to bring forward back to the board. If anybody's interested in those, we provide those items. I guess the biggest thing is, get out there and enjoy what we have to offer within the watershed. There's lots of opportunities, a beautiful time of year. If you know anybody who needs to like to go, but they can't, contact our local libraries. They have partnerships with them to be able to have those passes. There's no reason for people to sit at home and not experience our beautiful facilities. I took a walk this morning before, you see the rowers out there, you see ducks and ducklings going, a deer and a blue heron, see people fishing, you see people coming in to go to their campsites. And that's just one small sliver. You can't see the city from here. So there's lots of opportunity and all the great work that conservation area staff have done. I've been noticing a lot on YouTube as well. I'm big watching your YouTube, and you're seeing stuff come up of reviews of the parks, and people are very, very happy about that. That's great advertising. So something to be proud of. Thank all the staff for the work that they do that way. So certainly, if we don't meet in July, enjoy the summertime, and instead of maybe take that time that we would be in a board meeting and just go and explore a conservation area and get some in-your-face experience. And I'll turn it over to members' comments. Mark.
Just wanted to mention on the north shore of Piddock, so inside the Piddock Conservation Area, where the city of Woodstock has kind of an agreement to make the day use area free for citizens, like it's a municipal park, but it's also part of the Piddock Conservation Area. The city of Woodstock has completely refurbished the disc golf course, the 18-hole disc golf course in the Piddock on the north shore. So it's completely finished now, and lots of raving comments or reviews about it on Facebook about the improvements there. And it's something that the UTRCA put in years and years and years ago, but now it's really getting, in fact, they even have a league on Thursday night called the Woodstock Disc Golf Collective. And they're really fierce players on Thursday night playing that course. So it's been a lot of rave reviews. So it's something that's a big thumbs up for the UTRCA.
Maybe we should try that. That doesn't come. Can't get any worse. Any other further members' comments? Seeing none, I will turn them over to the general manager's comments.
Okay, thank you for the share. Thanks for the comments, Chair and Mark. I certainly appreciate it, given the CAs are direction, so thank you. Just a reminder that there's no board meeting scheduled for July, so just wish everyone have a great summer, safe travels wherever your plans may take you, and hopefully we see each other next in August, at August 25th at our next board meeting.
Excellent.
Thank you.
For a call for Jim, one thing I did want to highlight again, because this is one of my, I think, you know, you get this job, different jobs, and you see it, is the collaboration efforts, and nothing gets done without collaboration. Again, this agenda is full of items that took collaboration to happen. And so I can't thank our staff and members enough to, for that, and the results that it brings. We're seeing a lot of those come in our agenda items of long efforts that take a long time to come and short time for us to put our hands up, and then we move on. So thanks for all your efforts in that. We're working with everybody. Now I'll call for a mover and seconder for adjournment. Skylar and Hugh. Discussion? All in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you.